Hello, friends and fam, and welcome to Fandom Frontier. I am your host, as always, Handsome Dave. God, I can't get over how good it is to say this again. I know I said it all last episode, and the feeling is still there, guys. The feeling is so real. I am so happy to be back doing Fandom Frontier. It just feels so good. It just feels so good. I look forward to doing this now, and I hope you guys are enjoying so far what I have put out. Yeah, we got some good stuff coming up. But, you know, before we dive into tonight's episode, before we get a little too serious...
What's up?
There's like every 90s kid that's just freaking out right now because of that sound, and you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm one of them. But yeah, guys, what's new? What's up? How are you? What's new and exciting? So last week, or I guess last month, sorry, we were discussing that I was up for a role. And, great news, I got the role! Super excited to be back working for Dark Side of the Ring. I absolutely love this film crew. I love working with Vice TV. I can't go too much into my character. I have signed an NDA. There's some people I've talked to it about, some people I haven't, but it has been an intense month since I last recorded. It is... So, because I do stunts, I have to get my body ready for that, and that means a lot of gym time and a lot of dieting and a lot of really strict rules. That it's great because, I mean, for 2026 my New Year's resolution was to be a lot more disciplined, and it really helps that, which I love. But you know, it still sucks sometimes. Last night, for example, I had to stop eating at 3:30, so like I could eat from 4 a.m. to 3 p.m. 3:30 p.m. and then that was it. I was done. My wife is sitting there eating like bags of chips and having salad, and she's like, I shouldn't be eating this in front of you. I'm like, no, live your best life for both of us. Just tell me, how is it? How is it? And then of course TikTok jumps in, and here's more food. Here's a recipe you gotta try. And I was like, the whole world was out to get me, but it was for the best reasons. But now I'm feeling really good. I have been at the gym almost every day at 4 a.m. I feel great. I look great. I'm really excited I actually start filming tomorrow. Now, as some of you know, the role that I am taking has me altering one of my favorite parts of me. And a lot of you like this part of me. And I may have already done it. So, without further ado, no, I haven't done it yet. So for this role, I will have to cut my hair. I can't go too far into it, but I will be altering my hair for the role, and then when we're done, we're taking it all off. Like, I mean, right to the scalp. If you clicked on tonight's episode, it's in the thumbnail, so you've seen what it looks like. But next episode, I'm gonna be totally Fester Adams with a little color. But yeah, guys, it's, I'm excited. I haven't had short hair in years. So this is going to be, I mean, actually, no, I take it back. I haven't had any hair since I was in high school. Like, I had my head shaved when I was in grade 10, but that was it. I haven't done this in so long. So this is, all my friends are like, I don't remember you with short hair. And I'm like, dude, I don't remember myself with short hair. So this is going to be really interesting to see. So, yeah, brace yourselves. I got to do that too. So one of the things that I have gotten back into, especially now that my job is very physical, it's very long days, and then sometimes I don't want to do much on the weekends, I've gotten back into video games. And the one that I'm currently playing right now that I am obsessed with is Pal World. And if you don't know what Pal World is, think of it as Pokemon meets Ark. And if you don't know what Ark is, it's basically you are dropped naked into a world, and you have to build everything to survive, and you have to survive dinosaurs, but just swap out dinosaurs for like Temu Pokemon in this game. It's excellent. It is so much fun. I did not think I would enjoy it as much as I am. And guys, I gotta say, if you haven't played Pal World, please try it. It is so much fun. You can give Pokemon guns. You can have them running around shooting crap. It is awesome. I love it. You can start labor camps and they can do work for you at your base. They can uprise because the conditions aren't great. Guys, it is awesome. I mean, I made it sound horrible. I'm sorry, but it is so funny in a dark way. But you know what? If you like dark humor, if you like Pokemon, and if you like survival games, try Pal World. I am having a blast. I think I am maybe 60 hours into it, and I've barely reached halfway. There's just so much to do. The difficulty spikes at certain points depending on which way you travel. It is so much fun. I'm having a blast, and Steph's also having fun watching me do this. Like she watches them. She made me name one of my pals after her. Actually, she didn't make me name it. I did name it after her because she was very like fiery, and if anything came near me, she'd just murder it. And I'm like, that's Stephanie. That's Stephanie. So cool. There you go. Stephanie, you're in this game. So where we go, we got to play together. But yeah, so guys, if you haven't checked it out, Pal World. Also, what are you guys playing? Chime in the comments below. Let me know. Let's start a chat. Yeah, let me know what you guys are playing. I'm interested to know, and any recommendations too. Because again, getting back into video games, I love them. They're fun. I don't like multiplayer. I'm gonna say that right off the hop. I despise multiplayer. Something about it just has never sat right with me. I'm a very story-driven guy. So you know, yeah, I'm just not in the multiplayer. I've tried it. The only closest time that I've ever liked multiplayer was Helldivers. Helldivers I had a blast with. I still would love to have a blast with it, but there's just so many paywalls now. So yeah, guys, chime in the comments. Let me know what you're playing. Let me know some recommendations. Let's get started on some video games. So if you've clicked on this episode, and if you haven't, like, share, and subscribe, you are ready to explore the world of crossovers.
What is this, a crossover episode?
This isn't a crossover episode, but it is an episode about crossovers. So you might be asking me, David, what is a crossover? Well, a crossover is where you take a character from one universe or franchise and you put them in another universe or franchise. And it doesn't necessarily have to be canon, meaning that's not part of the story. It could be just something fun and light and easy reading, or watching for that matter. I personally am a sucker for crossovers, and I realize this working at Big B Comics because I am so tired of comics and books taking themselves so seriously. It's supposed to be an escape. It's supposed to be fun. The most fun I have, especially with comics and video games and movies, is when it's a crossover, because you know what? It doesn't take itself so seriously. It's not worried about an overarching story or notes from like the last couple issues. It can just do its own thing, and it's such a good feeling. It's so much fun. And honestly, I realized when I was working at Big B Comics that maybe I do like crossovers. Maybe I really like crossovers. And then as I continued reading, especially with these storylines that come out every single year, I'm like, you know what? No, I really enjoy crossovers because I don't have to collect everything. I don't have to know everything. Just know I know about this character and I know about that character or team or whatever. And I'm like, good enough. That's all I need to know. And then just dive on in. And it's fun. It's great. You get some of the best banter and, you know, moments you're like, that really shouldn't work, yet it does. But, you know, here we are tonight talking about crossovers. Let's dive in. So yes, what is the difference between a crossover and a shared universe? Well, that's actually pretty simple. So a shared universe, for example, like Marvel, basically means that everything is interconnected, and for a while it was like, oh, everybody's crossing over. That doesn't make it a crossover. That's a shared universe. There's a plan. Every story is connected and adds to an overarching story. A crossover is usually just a one-off that's just meant to be fun, or is an interesting idea, or is just something that maybe they'll touch on later. Again, crossovers can turn into shared universes. They can turn into an expanded storytelling arc. Like, for example, back in the 90s, there was the Amalgam universe, which is where Marvel and DC actually came together and they created amalgam characters, which was like Darkclaw, Batman, and Wolverine. You had Super Spider-Boy, which was Superboy and Spider-Man. You know, like, you had all these great characters, but it started from a crossover between Marvel and DC, and then it created this thing. And now it's actually coming back in comics nowadays, which is great. But that's basically the difference between a crossover and a shared universe. They can be one and the same, but mostly shared universes and expanded universes are one storyline where every story adds to it. Where crossover, it's just fun. And again, that's why I like them. Look at my mug. Look at my mug. It is the darkest crossover ever. That is an example of a crossover. It's a very dark crossover, and if you like dark horror, you're laughing your ass off at this mug. So what is an example of a great crossover? Well, that varies. It all depends on what you like to read. Baseline, and truth be told, this is kind of a great point that I recommend everybody. There's actually a book called Crossover. In the original podcast that Devin and I did, I think we did issue 1, but we were actually supposed to review the graphic novel. As a whole, Crossover is really cool, but it does have some things that are lacking. So what it is essentially a meta commentary on comics. So what it is pages open up, comic book characters come to life in our world, and it starts a whole war. Not like a traditional superhero war, but the world becomes kind of a wasteland in certain parts. And you get to see a lot of, Image comic crossovers. You get to see little hints of Marvel and DC, but the problem is because Image published it, you only get to see primarily Image comic characters with little subtle hints and nods to DC. I've never actually finished the series, but as a whole, from what I have read, it is pretty fantastic. I just stopped collecting it, unfortunately, but Devin and I were actually supposed to read this together and then comment on it later, but we never did get around to it. But I digress. I'm getting away from my point here. What makes a great crossover, for me personally, it's got to have humor. I cannot sit there and read this serious, drawn-out crossover. And I'm not talking about slapstick humor. Even just make the odd joke here and there, like little witty banter, anything like that. I'm good. Like, again, crossovers should never take themselves serious because, again, at the end of the day, they're not really part of a universe. They're just there to have fun and, get people reading or watching. So it's got to have action. Obviously, it's got to have a balance of comedy and action. And honestly, you got to keep it a page turner. The story has to work with what you're crossing over. Like, for example, one of my favorite crossovers is Ultraman and the Avengers. Shouldn't work, but it does. Because at the end of the day, Ultraman became a fighting team. Well, Avengers is a fighting team. And that works. They all have superpowers. The Avengers do. Ultraman happens to be an alien life form that can spread his, energy across a team. Well, in this he can. But again, it works because it's a team of superpowered people. Their monsters kind of interchangeable, especially back in the golden era of Marvel. But again, big monsters go smash. It's a common ground for a lot of stuff. Another great example would be Batman and the Ninja Turtles. Now, I know what you're thinking. This shouldn't work. But it works flawlessly because at the very core, you have humor, you have action. But the stories are ingrained on 2 perfect principles. And you'd never realize this. Martial arts and family. And putting those 2 together worked so beautifully. You also had an incredible writer like James Tynion who wrote Something is Killing the Children and Nice House on the Lake. He spearheaded this project, and gosh darn it, was it so good. I loved every minute of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman. They've not only spawned 3 books, but there's multiple movies, I believe 2 movies right now, and apparently there's works of a video game. And I would love that. That's great. These are 2 properties that on paper shouldn't work, but they do. And their stories just work so well together as a cohesive, and it is excellent. So again, one of the most important things you have to make a crossover work, for me, is humor, action, and shared attributes. Because without that, it's not going to work. You're going to be forcing characters together. And sometimes, unfortunately, especially with, as I mentioned, with the Amalgam universe, there were just times that just didn't work. Everybody freaked out over the Captain America Batman fight, and that I could have cared less. It was okay. It was cool. There's definitely other characters I would have loved to have seen in that moment, but you know what? Very happy people liked it. It just wasn't for me. And that's okay. That's an example of a crossover that didn't work for me, but it worked for other people. So to each his own. But this is what works for me as a crossover. So how does a crossover stay relevant? Well, this is a very interesting question. Because a lot of people I've noticed, especially working at Big B Comics, aren't a fan of them. They want to just read the main storylines, and again, they don't really care about it. Which, again, to each his own. But sometimes crossovers work so well, it reignites a franchise. And I'll give you a prime example of that. For example, Ghostbusters meets Transformers. You guys know how many Transformers movies were coming out year after year after year after year. And after 2016, Ghostbusters kind of faded out because nobody really liked that movie. I mean, it was okay in some parts, but wasn't the greatest. But Ghostbusters slowly started fading out. However, you do the Transformers and the Ghostbusters crossover. Transformers has had a fantastic run in comic books, especially lately. But the thing is, there hasn't been a solid Ghostbusters comic in a while. So doing this crossover, you not only brought Transformers fans, but Ghostbusters fans together. And you reignited a franchise. And I'm pretty sure after that, there was actually a Ghostbusters run for a little bit. And then it reignited fans, because then it came out with a toy line. There were Transformer Ghostbuster crossovers. So because of this crossover, it actually brought a lot of attention back to Ghostbusters, which I thought was pretty cool. I love Ghostbusters. I thought that was excellent. There's also prime examples that will actually come up later. Street Fighter and Ninja Turtles. I love Ninja Turtles. You'll find out later on this year when I do a Ninja Turtles episode with a special guest. But most of these crossovers have Ninja Turtles in because they're so easy to use crossovers for. They get along so well with everything. Oh my god, I almost took out my mic. But prime example is Turtles versus Street Fighter. Again, martial arts. Family works together. Hashtag martial art family. There we go. Run that tonight. But yeah, it is such an excellent book because, again, you have the humor from the Ninja Turtles and the Street Fighter, but then you have the shared martial arts universe of both. And you know what? The villains have the same goal, so it worked out perfectly. And again, case in point, there hadn't been a real solid Street Fighter comic in years, but because the Turtles have such a success rate right now and have a successful run, or even if the series finishes, they'll start another one with a different artist and writer, it reignited Street Fighter, and again, gave Street Fighter a new life in comic books, and then toys, and then and it's excellent, and it is, as someone who has read the book, it is excellent. So again, being relevant is important, even if you take something that isn't relevant with a name that is relevant, it'll reignite it. It's great. It's honestly, it's fantastic. Like, you see so much growth through crossovers. And again, crossovers are fun. Like, that's all they are at the end of the day, is just fun. So yeah, I think that's a great way to make irrelevant properties, or properties that, I don't want to say irrelevant because that's a little rude, but properties that have maybe fallen out of the limelight, give them a second life. And again, it's shown that it's worked. So again, I think that's how we keep crossovers are important to keep franchises and names relevant. So what are some examples of screen crossovers? Well, I can start with this. There's also been a lot of rumors about these things. One of my favorite ones has been Fast and the Furious meets Jurassic Park. It'll never happen. I'm okay with that. But dear God, I want it to happen. Fast and the Furious is my guilty pleasure. I'm a child of the 90s. I'll always love Jurassic Park. I might slightly have autism. I will always love Jurassic Park. You give me anything with dinosaurs, Hell yeah. Absolutely. But you cross over something with Fast and the Furious, fast cars meets big ass dinosaurs, I'm sold. You make that happen, it'll happen. But what I'm getting at is another not shared, I keep saying shared universe. But again, another example that is a good screen crossover that we're still waiting for is Transformers and G.I. Joe. Now I know some of you are jumping at me saying, hey, that was a comic first, and you're right. But once you open that bottle, that genie don't go back in. The last Transformers movie show that there will be a crossover eventually with G.I. Joe and Transformers. And yes, it was a comic first. I get it. Trust me, I know. But the fact that they are starting to show that as a screen adaptation, that is awesome. And that won't be a shared universe. That will be a crossover. And I think that is so cool. Will I be the first one lining up to see that? 100%. Again, guys, if you haven't figured out, I am a kid at heart, and I will always be a kid at heart. And I want to see shooty robots that turn into cars fighting all-American heroes, even though I'm Canadian. But you get what I'm trying to say there. Again, you do a crossover right on screen, everybody's sold. And then, honestly, I think G.I. Joe and the Transformers, when they finally get to it, is going to be fantastic. Shout out one crossover that you guys are looking forward to on screen, and shout out a crossover that you guys really enjoy right now. What crossovers would I like to see? Well, you guys know one already. I've already mentioned G.I. Joe and Transformers. However, there is one near and dear to my heart that I would absolutely love to see on screen. And that is Batman meets the Crow. Now granted, it won't happen, but it could happen in a comic, 100%. James O'Barr still does work. He still does comic art. He still does art. I would love to see him have a property of Batman and the Crow in one. I have never been able to find it. I don't think it's an actual thing, but everybody who knows me knows how much the Crow is near and dear to my heart. Rest in peace, Brandon Lee. But that is one of the most fantastic action comic book adaptations ever. And it is starkly different from the book, but just the moody, brooding action that is in both the comic and the movie, I think would make an excellent Batman graphic novel crossover, and it needs to happen. Like, I feel like that's one of my biggest ones that I want to see. Another one that I'm not sure if it is happening or will happen, but I would love to see Godzilla and the Kaiju universe go up against the aliens. Now, I know size comparison doesn't really make sense, and that's okay, but I'm picturing, like, Destroya somehow gets a facehugger, a large enough facehugger, and he has, like, a Xenomorph style Destroya running around. I think that would be sweet. Again, these are just mine. I'm still a kid. Like I said, I'll always be a kid at heart, but these are the ones that I'm picturing that I would play with my action figures with and make crossovers in my living room. And these are ones that I would love to see, especially as an adult now, in a comic book or in a movie format. And I just think these are great. So honestly, guys, shout out some of the crossovers you want to see right here in the comments. Let's get that going. We'll address them in the next episode, because I want to hear what you want to see crossover. Book club! That's right, guys. Book club. Now, today's going to be a little different. Normally, I just do one. But are we going to do one today? No. Are we going to do two today? No. We are going to do three today, because we can't do a crossover episode and just pick one. I picked my top 3 favorite crossovers of the last couple years, and I'm really excited to share these with you. So we're going to start with number 1. Number 1 coming in hot, we got Predator versus Wolverine. Guys, I cannot begin to tell you what incredible crossover this is. Have an interstellar predator taking on the predator from the north with the adamantium claws. The artwork in this book is absolutely mind-blowing, and the story spans decades upon centuries of just warfare and fighting, where these two unstoppable forces have consistently crossed over, going toe-to-toe, and everybody in the wake is a casualty. Guys, I cannot even begin to tell you how incredible this book is. It is very gory. Again, Wolverine and the Predator, what can you expect? But at the same time, the story has now started a sequel. You got Black Panther versus Predator, you now have Spider-Man versus Predator, and now you have the Marvel Universe versus Predator. Now, I know what we said about shared universes, but this is not a shared universe. This is a crossover verse. This started with Predator versus Wolverine because why wouldn't you put those two together? And then they had another artist and writer do the next one. Now, these were so well received that they created a crossover verse. And that happens sometimes, but it is still a crossover because, again, this doesn't affect the main Marvel storyline. And honestly, guys, if you get the chance, pick up that graphic novel. If you're a Predator fan, if you're an X-Men fan, if you're a Wolverine fan, you owe it to yourself. Wolverine. I'm sorry I had to do that. For my second pick, that's no surprise, TMNT versus Street Fighter. Guys, as I've said before, a great thing about crossovers, and one of my favorite things, is you gotta have humor and you gotta have action. And taking a property like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and crossing it over to the Street Fighter universe just feels right. The artwork is pretty cool. Honestly, one of the coolest stories for a quick little crossover adventure. It doesn't have to make sense, but hey, you know what? It's fun. Did I whip through that book super fast? Absolutely. And did I enjoy every minute of it? 100%. The greatest thing about this, though, guys, is sometimes when I read comics, that's it. I'll read them once and then maybe visit them again in a couple years. This one I've already read 2 or 3 times, and I just, as a kid, I grew up, I had a Sega Genesis, and I played the crap out of Street Fighter. I love Street Fighter. Mortal Kombat over Street Fighter, I will say, but I still love Street Fighter. And the thing is, I have been a diehard Turtles fan my entire life. Not as diehard as another Dave I know, but you guys will meet him later, trust me. But just the martial arts aspect and the humor aspect, and you know what? Considering Raph and Guile throw down, the hot-headed aspect, it is awesome. Like, seeing Mikey crush on Chun-Li is just some of the most hilarious and best writing I have seen in a crossover book, just because it kept me laughing through the action sequences, and it was just so cool. If you love TMNT and if you love Street Fighter, guys, highly recommend this. It is just a fun little quick read, and you'll want more. And unfortunately, there was only one book, but you'll still want more. And pulling in at the caboose, we got Godzilla versus the Marvel Universe. I mean, come on. I wasn't not gonna put the G-Man on there. And of course it has to cross over with the Marvel Universe. Now, unlike most crossovers, each issue was a different crossover team. You had the Hulk versus bunch of Godzilla's kaiju. You had the Avengers taking on the Godzilla himself. You had the X-Men fighting Godzilla in Japan. And my personal favorite storyline, you had Spider-Man taking on Godzilla toe-to-toe as he walks through New York City, but the symbiote latches on to Godzilla. Oh, I get tingly every time I say it. I mean, like, come on, guys, you know me. I love Godzilla. My nephew loves Godzilla more than me now because of me. But yeah, this has been one of my favorite Godzilla crossovers, probably in the last decade, because each issue was different. He didn't just take on the Hulk, and it didn't just cross over into the next issue, but you had Spider-Man. Spider-Man, the little geek that he is, was trying to stop Godzilla from tearing the city out, and all he could do was shoot webs. And then the symbiote jumped off him, jumps on Godzilla, and now you have a symbiote Venom Godzilla running around. Why wouldn't you want to read that? There's just so much, especially with the Marvel Universe, you can do with that. And this has led to, again, another crossover verse with Godzilla Infinity Roar. Now, Godzilla has gone cosmic and is taking on Galactus, Silver Surfer, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and many more. And it all stemmed from this book. Guys, again, like, if you're a Godzilla fan, if you love Marvel, I can't even just say the Avengers because there's so many other characters that are now involved in this. And I highly recommend this book. It was honestly one of my favorite crossovers of 2025. I couldn't say enough good things about it. I even have a photo, one of the issues signed by Godzilla himself. There's like 3 people that laughed at that inside joke, and if you're watching, Thanks, guys. Love you. But yeah, it is just so fun. There's no seriousness in it, guys. Honestly, even when the action's there, there's no seriousness. It's great. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I couldn't stop reading when the action sequences were happening. And again, it's a Godzilla book. You want action sequences. But with this, it was just fun. And I loved it. And I want more because it detached from this huge, overarching, beyond decades storylines that are just so hard to keep up with nowadays. You got Marvel at its most nitty gritty and basic. All you need to know is who the characters are. You don't need to know what happened in an issue 30 years ago. You're just here for the ride. If you watch the MCU, you know these characters. If you've ever read an X-Men comic that, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, you know these characters. And it's fun. And I highly recommend it. I gotta stop saying fun because these are fun. And I want you to have fun with them too. So there you have it, guys. It's a quick little episode about crossovers. I could go on and on about crossovers, and I really could. But I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing me say the word crossover, because I'm sick of saying crossover. But at the same time, I love my time with you guys, and I love this podcast. And yeah, we will get into longer episodes, but this is me just doing trial and error right now. And you know what? At the end of the day, I'm still having fun with it. I'm still here. But now, here's a quick word from our sponsors. If you guys loved the music for the intro as well as the backtrack for this podcast, now check out Me For Real. He's got an amazing Spotify playlist, as well as his skills and animation are absolutely amazing. Click the links in the description below to check out to see what Me For Real is up to these days. Hey kids, Handsome Dave here from Fandom Frontier. Hey, do you like shirts like this? Or even like this? Or how about even this? Actually, I'm not even Gen X. I can just relate to the lifestyle. I'm gonna wear it. It's cool. Well, look no further. Check out Nerdcore right here in Hamilton on Ottawa Street. Nerdcore has all the answers for all your nerdy needs. Nerdcore is fully stocked and loaded to meet all those nerdy needs with a massive variety of comics, both new and collectible, toys, clothing, and many more collectibles. It's hard not to complete any collection you've been working on the minute you walk in. Nerdcore also specializes in printed t-shirts, tote bags, ranging from your favorite fandoms, the most insane crossovers, and the most nostalgic throwbacks. Nerdcore is located at 21 Ottawa Street North in Hamilton, Ontario. Follow them at The Real Nerdcore Hamilton on Instagram. So, if you're looking for that perfect gift to blow the mind of a certain someone, or how about in the mood to treat yourself, Nerdcore, your neighborhood pop culture shop. The sun is getting low in the sky, so put away your dice, power down your consoles, and tuck away those swords. You've traveled far on your adventures, now rest your weary heads. Goodbye, folks, and I'll see you next month.